Good afternoon. I'm Hagen Rogers with Watermark Advisors, and today we're continuing the conversation on fumbles and landmines that occur with sellers that can be very painful. Last video, I gave the definitions of fumbles and landmines. They can both happen. They typically happen early in the process, either in the preparation phase, a step is missed, or a step that you're told to conduct, you overlook, and then it shows up, the pain shows up later in the transaction phase or even in the integration phase, and it is costly to the seller. So let's first give an example on landmine number 2, which is defining a defendable strategy and developing projections that closely align. Many sellers focus on telling the story of their business on what they've built, the past and the present, to the exclusion of really emphasizing the future and the strategy of where this business can go next. But buyers pay future cash flow streams of the business discounted back to time zero today. So buyers are really thinking more about the future. They're evaluating the past of the business, but the future is much more important to them about what they can do or where this business can go. Therefore, it means that the seller's got to communicate a convincing strategy. And I have observed over the years that really advanced strategy skills often are lacking in the marketplace. And knowing how important it is to sell a company, we bring that to the table with our clients and really help them articulate a compelling strategy with accompanying projections. Those projections should be ground up, tied to reality, and defendable, not a top-down where it's just growing by 1% of market share per year. That's not going to hold up under the scrutiny of the buyer. Let me give you an example of how this often showed up with us several years ago. We worked on selling a great company, a consulting business. It was a great business. However, it became clear when we were preparing for the face-to-face meetings with different buyers that they needed to sharpen their strategy and what they planned to do with the business. They had the ideas in their head, but we really wanted to flesh that out. And we worked with them over several meetings. They did perfect an executable strategy, which included their vision, their roadmap, their resources with tangible milestones. And once we got to that part of the discussion in the face-to-face meeting with buyers, and then presented accompanying projections that align with those milestones, it just was like icing on the cake with the buyers. Those buyers left that meeting thinking, this is a must-have, not a nice-to-have company. We have to put resources behind this to win this deal. And our client did tremendously well overall, and we think partially as a result of how well they articulated a compelling vision of their future. So fumble number 1, a standalone valuation versus an acquired valuation with synergies. What do I mean by that? Many business owners are told, go get a valuation from a credentialed valuation professional. Great advice, very important, but that's often a standalone value, meaning what's the value of the business today under the current ownership? But we know that buyers, specifically strategic buyers and PE firms that already have a platform that they would acquire your business and then roll it under that platform, we know that those deals include synergies. Synergies can be cost synergies, revenue synergies, financial synergies, and it's real simple if you think about the equation. Standalone value plus synergy 1 plus synergy 2 plus synergy 3 in total equals the revised value. The revised value is, in the buyer's eyes, what that company is worth, and they're sometimes willing to purchase the company for that revised value. But seller has in mind the lower value, the standalone value, and that is an arbitrage that many sellers just don't even recognize. Another that falls into this category is another true financial arbitrage that happens at the closing table. Let me give you a very simple explanation for this. Let's say acquirer has $15 million in EBITDA and currently is valued at a 10 times multiple. They buy your company, which has $3 million in EBITDA, for 7 times that multiple, 7 times multiple of EBITDA. The minute the pen is signed, you've sold the company, that company that you sold for 7 times becomes 10 times multiple. So that arbitrage of $9 million is in the pocket of the buyer before you walk out the door and shake their hands. Can you negotiate some of that back? Of course, if you have leverage in other aspects of the deal, which we work to make sure you do. But these are just very very important points in valuation that many sellers just don't even know. And finally, fumble number 2, which relates to cultural issues. Edgar Sheehan was an American business theorist, very well respected. He once said, culture may be loosely thought about, but it is only after the merger that it is taken seriously, suggesting that most leaders make the assumption that they can fix cultural problems after the fact. I would argue that leaders must make cultural analysis as central to the M&A process and decision as the financial, product, or market analysis. This matters tremendously. Cultural due diligence, it is the culprit for many deals unraveling after companies, after they're bought. And we have observed these kind of issues show up surprisingly after the transaction closes. And so why does it happen so often? One reason is large buyers often have hubris. They've built huge companies, or they're running huge companies, and they're buying your company that is very successful but not of the scale and size of theirs. So they really underappreciate all the cultural norms that you have put into your company to make it successful. And what happens, the employees are dissatisfied quickly. They leave, they abandon ship. That specific knowledge they had in processes of how to run the business leave the door too, and that value of that target drops, and very painful. Another reason is the professionals that are advising you most often aren't experts in cultural issues or due diligence themselves. So you've got to bring this into your advisory discussions and team to make sure you're filtering cultural issues as you identify the right buyer, as you negotiate the terms of that deal and what that company, how it will be integrated into the buyer. This happens with serial acquirers, infrequent acquirers, and even in the PE world more often than you think. So it is a very important fumble to be cognizant of. The result for you, you may say, I sold my company, why does it matter? Well, you have often contingency payments, rollover equity, earnouts. The business you built, you want it to thrive after it's sold, and you want to do right by the employees who helped you build it. So that was just 3 more examples, more to come in our next video. I hope you learned a lot from today. Thank you for watching.